There's a lot to cover on this Sunday night, but if I'm being honest, only one place to start. So let me run you through the past 30 or so hours of my life. First, on Saturday afternoon on CBS, America's Most Watched Network, Network of Stars, the selection committee unveiled what would be the top 16 seeds if the NCAA tournament were to start today. They call it the bracket preview show. Like I've been telling you for more than a month, Purdue has this body of work. So Purdue was announced as the number 1 overall seed. I felt very good. I felt incredibly smart. About 90 minutes later, UConn, which has been number 1 in the AP poll for 5 straight weeks and will be number 1 in the AP poll again on Monday for the 6th straight week, they beat the doo-doo out of Marquette. Woo, boy, you don't see beatings like this very often. UConn A1, Marquette 53 is a total ass whipping. All right. Needless to say, this was not good for the top 25-1. No escalators is out there tweeting like Kobe on his way to 81. That's right. Other UConn fans are calling me every name in the book, wondering both how I got my job and why I'm allowed to keep it. It's rough out in the streets, but I was still fine. I was still fine because, believe it or not, Purdue still had the better body of work. A better body of work than UConn. So I kept Purdue number 1 in the top 25-1 on Sunday morning, even after UConn murdered Marquette. And all I needed on Sunday afternoon was for the Boilermakers to beat an Ohio State team that had lost 6 of 7 and just fired its coach 4 days earlier. You know what happened next. Final score, Ohio State 73, Purdue 69. Womp, womp.
You lose.
Dead leg, that's how you go from feeling like the smartest person on Twitter to having to tweet, congratulations, UConn. You'll be number 1 in the top 25-1 on Monday. Better late than never. Dead leg, that's a recap, for the most part, of my life while you were in Alabama. We'll get to you being in Alabama later. But first, your thoughts on A, what UConn did to Marquette, B, what Ohio State did to Purdue, and C, what we should all now be able to agree on. Let's all agree on something. And that's that UConn is the only team in the country with fewer than 3 losses and more than 1 quadrant 1 win. And they've got 9 quadrant 1 wins. So yes, finally, UConn does have the sport's best body of work, and the Huskies should be number 1.
All right. That is 2 minutes, 57 seconds of exposition, scene setting, justifications. It's tough. It's a tough one for you here, bud. Listen. I'm not here to disagree on where you had Purdue, all right? Because a reminder, it's only the last time I say this season. Parish ranks his teams like it's bracketology. He's basically trying to kick Jerry Palm out of having a job. His rankings are a bracketology situation. So
I am a great set of bangs away from being the CBS sports bracket expert.
That's right. So he's that's what he's doing. Because of that, Purdue had the best resume. But, it all fell apart on you.
Oh, my God. And keep in mind, this morning, Purdue still had the best resume, and Purdue, this morning, was still ahead of UConn in most computers. Not all, but most. And then it all came crashing down, buddy.
Came crashing down.
I got deeplered.
You did get deeplered.
A week ago, did you have any idea that on Sunday I would get deeplered?
No one. I don't think Diebler knew he was going to deebler anyone.
I don't even think Diebler knew he was going to deebler me.
No, Diebler had no idea.
This dude woke up. I don't know if you saw any of the pregame because you were flying.
I did not. I saw. By the way, I saw none of the game because I was flying. Yeah.
I didn't see. I was like this the whole game, and then I'd be like, Jesus Christ! Yeah. It's a 8-0 run again. So I didn't see much of the game. I just sort of listened to Tom McCarthy and Jim Spanarkel, but I kept my eyes covered. I didn't want to see it. I was trying to protect my mental health. I didn't need to see it.
That's on fire right now, as it should. And listen, just embrace the drag because UConn and we can talk. I didn't see any of the Purdue game, so I can't speak to the game. I just know the result. I watched almost all of UConn Marquette, and then when it was in no longer in doubt, I was like, all right, I'm just heading over to the arena for Kentucky Auburn. We'll get to that a little later in the show. But I knew it was going to happen when I saw that UConn. And I'll get to the game in just a second. When I saw that UConn was destroying Marquette and just rolling away with it, I knew, at least I was highly confident. I didn't text GP. I didn't get a check-in. I was like, he's still going to put Purdue ahead of UConn, and they are going to come for his neck.
Oh, buddy.
They're going to come for his neck, and then Purdue's going to beat Ohio State, and he's going to worsen it for himself. No, and then you've made the about face, but
Well, no, I haven't made it about face. I want to be very clear about what I've done. I've done the same thing I've done every day for the past month. Every day. I looked at the bodies of work and I said, whose is better? Who's got the best body of work? That's going to be my number one team. Up until like about 2-3 hours ago, it was still Purdue. It just was. It just was. That's the only thing. Like, I love No Escalators. He's hilarious, or she's hilarious. I don't know who it is.
It's a he. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who it is. I'm a fan. So, but then some of the fans are like, how could you think that Purdue should be ranked ahead of UConn? And I'm like, buddy, I just explained it to you. And by the way, just explained it to you like every other day for the past month on here, writing. Like, Purdue did have the best body of work. The selection committee told you that yesterday. Purdue had the best body. So I never really understand how people think it's crazy to have Purdue number one. Like, if you do body of work, it's number one. If you do most computers, it's still better than UConn, although behind Houston. So it's complicated. But now it's clear. It's clear to me that UConn has the best body of work. Purdue now is a 3-loss team. Purdue, UConn has the same number of quadrant one wins, but one fewer loss. And again, this is remarkable. Tell me if you know the other team in this thing. UConn is now the only team in the country with fewer than 3 losses and more than one quadrant one win. And they have 9 of those. Who's the other team I'm talking about that has fewer than 3 losses, but in one quadrant one win?
Fewer than, who is the other?
Hit your button.
Huh?
Hit your button. You got a Bryce button over there?
Oh, Grand Canyon.
This is Bryce, and I don't care.
I was scanning. What if the team only has 2 losses at this point?
Grand Canyon only has 2 losses, but they also only have one quadrant one win. So the 2 teams in the country with only 2 losses are UConn and Grand Canyon. One of them has 9 quadrant one wins. One of them has 1. So when I say this, and I hope UConn fans can at least appreciate this. I'm very good at framing things. Like, excellent at like framing things. I'm confident if you made me do it, I could frame Purdue still being number 1 somehow.
No, I dare you. I dare you. Actually, and here's the twist: he's got Grand Canyon ahead of Connecticut.
No, I could do it. I'm very good at framing things. So when I'm framing this way, like, it sounds great because it is. There's only one team in the country that has fewer than 3 losses and more than one quadrant one win, and it's UConn. And UConn has 9 quadrant one wins. Go Huskies. What's the Huskies cheer? What do I need to do?
You don't know the Huskies cheer?
What do I need to do?
UConn, UConn. You don't know nothing about Big Red, do you? You don't know.
So you're telling me UConn stole their chant from UCLA?
Is that what UCLA is?
Well, I think it's UCLA, fight.
Not the same, Parish.
I know, but it's kind of the same. It's kind of like I think
half the schools in existence just repeat the letters and acronyms in their school names. So no, UConn didn't steal that.
They both start with UC.
I think UConn stole the "we stand up and don't stop clapping until the first basket is made." Syracuse does that. I believe Syracuse did it first, and UConn stole it from Syracuse.
And now look what they've done. They've stolen the number 1 ranking from Purdue.
Okay. Oh boy. Well,
I tell you what, you go to bed one Sunday, you never think you're going to spend the next one getting deeblered.
Yeah,
I tell you that.
You got.
And I don't know why. Looking back on it, you realize I'm constantly developing these bits for this podcast, and I had a good one going. It was Indiana's the 4th best team in the state of Indiana, and buddy, I just abandoned it to jump on this Purdue UConn thing, and now look at me.
You did it to yourself.
I did it to myself.
It really hurts. Yep.
Sometimes you got to be able to look in the mirror and say, I'm responsible for this. And I am responsible for this.
Photo there up right now of Diebler post-game interview. That was just a huge win. All right, let's talk games real quick.
You know what he said right there? Did you read his lips?
Yeah, Parish got Diebler.
He said, oh, that Parish. He thinks he's something. It's a tough day. It's a tough day. Tough weekend.
First time an interim head coach has won his first game against a top 5 team in history. I don't know. I wondered that. Ken Pom had this at 80% of Purdue wins, so it was obviously surprising. 73-69 win for Ohio State, but it wasn't like this was a 95%er, but still 80%, certainly notable. Snapped a 9-game winning streak for Purdue. Purdue is now 4-3 against unranked teams on the road. Yes, folks, another top 10 team went down on the road against an unranked team. Again,
I've got the updated numbers on that.
Give us the latest.
Okay. So it was 37-36 for the top 10 teams on the road heading into Purdue at OSU. So we're now 37-37.
It's 50. Okay. I actually thought it was going to, I can't remember what I said, but I think it's going to be somewhere around 52-53% by year's end. We'll see.
And the normal statistical average is like what, 73? Normal
good question.
Average, I got it right here. 73.3.
Previous low
is 62.
Yeah, 62%.
Previous low is 62%, and right now we're sitting at 50%. That's the winning percentage for top 10 teams on the road against unranked opponents, 37-37 through today.
Boilermakers are 4-3 on the road against unranked opponents. Everyone else, any other site, venue, whatever, Purdue is 19-0, and the Boilermakers went 20 of 20 from. Tell me the last time a team, I'm not even going to say Purdue went 20 of 20 from the foul line and lost.
That's
Tell me the last time
effect.
a top 10 team shot 95% or better from the foul line. I'll say minimum 15 attempts and lost a game. Almost never happens, particularly against an unranked opponent. That's crazy. That's a crazy stat.
It's the whole thing was crazy. Everything about it was crazy. I mean, seriously, the team that was named the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament as of yesterday lost to a team that fired its coach 4 days ago. That's what happened today.
It's just wild that Ohio State on this day of all days, with Holtman out. Buckeyes fans, you've earned this moment and you've been aching for it. So congrats on the apex of your season, because this basically is it. Barring Diebler being better than John Wooden and coming from Mick Horan's ass, I think this is going to be the apex of Ohio State season. We'll see. Let's talk UConn Marquette real quick. I watched most of that game, 81-53. This was supposed to be the game of the weekend. It was certainly the most hyped matchup of the weekend. And UConn, to say it flipped a switch does not do it justice. It took one of those huge breakers and just slammed it against the wall, man. A 24-8 run over the final 10 minutes of the first half when the game was 18-all at that point, and they just blow them out of the water. 4 players with at least 14 points. Klingon was 7 of 8 from the field, 17 points. He was just incredible for what they needed him to do in that game, and there were just flashes of him in this game where I was like laughing. I was like, this is when we didn't know Purdue was going to lose, and I'm like, Parish won't rank this team first. I was like, literally, they're rolling here. He will not put this team number 1.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes.
I looked at it. I honestly looked at it, and I honestly came to the conclusion that Purdue still had the better body of work.
Fair enough. They ain't playing like the better team, that's for sure.
But I did acknowledge all season, Purdue ain't done nothing to nobody like what UConn did to Marquette. And I wonder this, we both know Dan, we both like Dan. Your story from earlier in the year, you have that scene where you're walking back to locker room with him or walking somewhere with him, and he brings up the fact that you have him ranked lower than he thought you should have. So it's clear he pays attention to this stuff. I bet you I've been driving him crazy. All right.
Maybe.
I wonder, do you think, because this seems like the type of thing that would work for him. I don't know that he did this. I just wouldn't be surprised. Hey guys, let's gather around. Watch this. Watch these people tell you somebody's better than you. All right? Because that's what they're about to do. Watch this. They're going to tell you somebody's better than you. All right. Now let's go play and prove that nobody's better than us. It looked like they were shot out of a cannon. They looked like they overwhelmed them. Dude, they won by 28. They were up 29. Cam Spencer pointing to the scoreboard. They beat I know we try not to curse on here, but you know what they beat out of them.
Well, wait till you see
what they beat out of them.
Yeah, we're gonna have cursing through the mouth of Patino before the show's over here. They did. Newton had 15 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. It's the 28-point win was comfortably the biggest margin of victory ever for UConn against a top 5 team. The previous best was a 17-point win against Louisville. Patino, by the way, when Louisville was number 5 back in 2009. It was UConn's 3rd straight win by 25-plus points, and it was obviously UConn's 14th win in a row. That's the longest active win streak in the country. And UConn's got to go and play in Milwaukee in a couple of weeks here, so that'll be interesting to see how Marquette rebounds from that. But to me, like, even removing ourselves from the context we normally have in this podcast, right? And the people that follow this podcast, for those like more casual sports fans, now that the Super Bowl has come and gone, obviously Caitlin Clark made huge headlines this week. You had the NBA All-Star game and all that kind of stuff. But coming out of this weekend, this was the type of victory that I think resonates beyond the sport, where it's like, good Lord, the UConn team that won the title last year, I'm going to check in and see what they're doing because it's a top 5 matchup. And they just eviscerate the 4th-ranked team in the country. Like, they made the game an absolute joke. And then Cam Spencer, this is not the first time. And if you haven't seen it, go find it. Obviously, if you're listening, you can't see it, but you know what I'm talking about there. This whole like wind up, get out of here, umpire toss move that he did after he like bumped into Ben Gold. It's like the second or third time he's making his thing, which I am all for. And then I had posted that I don't know if Marquette's going to be able to beat UConn this year. I'm just saying, if they do, Tyler Kolek is the one guy that can match Cam Spencer for trash talking, and it would be an incredible scene. UConn fans took this to be like, I wanted Marquette to win. I think Marquette's going to. I don't care who wins. You know what I care about? I want to see Cam Spencer and Tyler Kolek going at each other and jawing the next time these teams meet. I want to see these teams meet again in New York City, where they can go at it again, because Kolek is an incredible shit talker, and Cam Spencer embodying this arrogant, I don't give an F Northeast ethos, and it working and making UConn into a superpower, I think is amazing, hilarious. And when he did that, Parish, you know what I thought? I thought, if this dude wore a Duke jersey, he would be the most hated man in America right now. But because it says UConn, there's this real associated pride that comes with it. Everyone else in the Big East probably hates Cam Spencer. I love the edge he's brought to UConn, and I think his involvement here is a significant part in why this team is the best team in the country right now.
I agree with you. I won't care who wins the next game. I kind of did care who won that one, though. At least by 29. Like, win it by 4. Can you win it by 4? That's fine. 28 points.
You better watch out, or Cam Spencer's going to find you.
Yeah, I just wanted him to kind of win. I didn't need him to like light my mentions on fire with the best performance anybody's had all season. And I guess there's no way to prove this. I don't think it's a coincidence that it came right 90 minutes after that selection show. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think I bet they use that. Somebody used that as motivation. Here's my question for you. So what we agree, UConn should be number 1. Do you agree with that?
Yes. I've been saying for like a month.
Okay.
Do not loop me, rope me, bring me into your side. And that was never, have not been there.
Right, okay, I'm on the UConn side now. Can I bring you with me?
Yeah, they're not going to let you in. That's what I'm telling you.
No, I feel like I'm in.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in.
So what was that what you're going to ask me, or you're going to actually ask me something a little more legitimate?
A little more legitimate.
Okay.
What do I do with Purdue now?
I haven't looked at the resume. I mean, I guess how about this? I figure you put them number 2 for a couple of days and you put them back at number 1 for old time's sake. Results be damned. Yeah.
That's exactly what my plan is. Okay. I'm going to try to sneak them back in there on Wednesday.
See if they don't notice.
I don't know. Cause like obviously Purdue's loss is like worse than the Houston losses, but Purdue's loss is still a quadrant 1 loss. Did you realize that? You can get a quadrant 1 loss losing to a team that fired his coach 4 days ago. Amazing. All right. So Purdue is still 9-3 in quadrant 1, 6-0 in quadrant 2. So 15-3 first 2 quadrants with 9 quadrant 1 wins. Houston, that's your other candidate, I guess. 8-3 in quadrant 1, only 2-0 in quadrant 2. So 10-3 in the first 2 quadrants with 8 quadrant 1 wins. So Purdue has more quadrant 1 wins, has 5 more wins in the first quadrant, and broadly speaking, has better wins. But that does have that one worse loss. The loss to Ohio State's worse than anything that Houston has on its resume. I don't hold me to it. I will take a fresh look at it. I think Purdue's 2 and Houston's 3. I think it's 1 UConn, 2 Purdue, UConn 3. But UConn 1, Purdue 2, Houston 3. But I'll look at it a little later on.
Paul, before we go to the break here, the poll question on today's show, if you're listening at the start of the YouTube live chat here, was I set the over/under 2.5 losses for UConn the remainder of the season. I am including the postseason NCAA tournament. GP, what do you think is winning, over or under? And then I'll give you the answer.
I think at this point, most people are going to say, hell, they've only lost twice so far. And most of the season's over. I think I'll have to go under.
Under is winning. 84% of our audience watching in real time now thinks that UConn will take 2 or fewer losses for the rest of the season. That's a dominant commentary on just how dominant UConn has been. Highly impressive from Dan Hurley's group, and a really good storyline at large for college basketball as we get ready to start turning to March here in a couple weeks.